So,
It's loud.
Shabbat Shalom. You're going to excuse me for using the microphone and not doing too much of this because we're trying to broadcast at the same time as. So, for those of you who are home, we wish you Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to be virtually present with one another. And this is, from what I understand, the first time that we've gotten together here as a community on a Erev Shabbat in a year and a half. So it's a Shehechianu moment. And the way that we're going to, I wasn't already the first service working together, I'm already going off script. But it's wonderful to be here, and the Gray family, wish them a Mazal Tov. They're coming. That's okay. Okay. So we're going to sort of put the rest of the world behind us, and we're going to dive into the spirit of Shabbat. I'm Brian Schuldenfrei. This is my very first service with the congregation, and so it's really an honor to be here. And so we'll kick things off, and I'll just turn things over to the cantor for Yedid Nefesh.
So I thought I would just bring in some of the things that we did together during the pandemic online on Erev Shabbat. And I have to say, this is a little loud, and I have to say, it sure is good to have David back here we've been together on Aranana, but again, virtually, so it's great to be with you together in person. But right now, I'm going to start on guitar with this wonderful Yedid Nefesh. We're on page 10, that Yoel Sykes, who is with the Nava Tehillah prayer community in Jerusalem, that he wrote. So the tune goes like this. Nai, na, nai, nai, na, nai, na, nai, lai, 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 nai, 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 lai, lai, nai, nai, hai, lai, 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 hai, lai, 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 lai. Page 10. Yedid nefesh barachaman mishoch avdach el retzonach yarutz avdach kemo ayav yishtachaveh uladharach ki erav lo yedidut
what a beautiful way to begin our prayer experience together, and thank you for such a thoughtful selection, Cantor. We're going to continue on page 11 with Lechuna Ranana.
Lechuna Ranana Ladonai Nari Alitzor Yishenu Nekat Mafana Bitoda Bizmirot Nari Alo Nekat Mafana Bitoda Bizmirot Nari Alo El Gadol Adonai Umelech Gadol Al Kol Elohim Asher Biyado Mechkerei Aretz V'toafot Harim Lo Asher Biyado Mechkerei Aretz V'toafot Harim Lo Asher Lo Yam V'yoshla U'vyabeshet Yadav Yatzar U'bo Nishtacham Lam Yatzar.
Page 17.
Arba'im shana akut bidor va'omaram toe levavim v'im lo yadu derachai asher nishbati be'api im yevo'un el menuchati. Now page 17. Let me get my guitar first. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash ki niflaot asa Hoshia lo yemino uzero akodsho Hodia l'Adonai Yeshuato le'nei agoyim gilat zikato Shachar chasto ve'emunato leveit Yisrael ra'u kol nafsei haaretz et Yeshuot Eloheinu Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz pitchu ve'ranenu ve'zameru zamru l'Adonai Bechinor v'kol zimra B'chatzot rot v'kol shofar Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai Yiram hayam umlo'o Tevel ve'yoshveva Neharot imcha uchav Yachad harim yera Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot teva b'tzedek ve'yamim b'meisharim yalai la 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 yalai la 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 yalai la 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 la
We continue on page 19.
Adonai malach yirgezu amim yoshev kruvim tanu ta'aretz. I don't know if it's going. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu השתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו.
So whatever happened to us this past week, whatever we sort of like pinned us down with our anxieties or the pressures, and we know that the world that we live in is ripe with opportunity to feel anxiety and to feel pressure. Shabbat is the spiritual antidote to all of that. So we welcome in the Shabbat bride, but really it's more of a release. It's a release from the rest of the world. It's an opportunity to create, as Abraham Joshua Heschel says, a palace in time, this holy sanctuary in our hearts and our souls. So as we greet Shabbat, as we bring in the Shabbat bride, we kind of exhale and we allow all of the stresses and anxieties of the world that often fill us and overwhelm us. We let go of that and we concentrate instead of what's really most important, to be here, father and son, to be here, spouses, to be here with friends, to be here as a family after too long, after too tough of a time. We concentrate on those things because that's the things that are the real essence of our life. And Shabbat is the reminder that don't get all overwhelmed by the schmutz. Instead, focus on what's important. So let's bring in Shabbat. Let's bring in important things in our lives. Let's recenter ourselves. Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor vezachor bedibor echad, Hishmianu ela meyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem ultiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor haberacha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech yirmelucha, Kumitzei mitoch ha'afecha. Rav lach shevet b'emek ha'bacha, Ve'hu yachamon alayich chemla. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Page 24.
נערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי, בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר אל תילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי, 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שוסייך ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמסוס חתן, חתן על כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, ירדאי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, אוי, 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה, ירדאי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, אוי, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תעריצי, על יד איש פן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי, 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה, ירדאי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה.
And we rise as we face the entry to the sanctuary.
בואי ושלום עטרת פעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי, 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה.
We continue on page 27.
I like this one better.
That was like the Lecha Dodi mask change?
Yeah, that's
it. It was
it,
like when you became the Shabbat, right?
You know, like after intermission when you put on a new costume. you know.
That's
so
right, exactly. This is a very
It's the
fine-tuned.
post-Lecha Dodi mask change, right?
That's right, right.
This one is much easier to sing in. So. I forgot to write minor. That's so much better. Mizmor shir liyom HaShabbat, tov lehodot, lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, tov lehodot, lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, leagid baboker chasdecha veyemunatcha baleilot, leagid baboker chasdecha ve'emunatcha baleilot. Al yasor v'elinavel, al
Right by the caret on page 28, Tzadi Katamar.
Tzadikata amar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yizke shetulim beveit Adonai bechasrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim vera'ananim yiyu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri velo avlata bo.
That was beautiful. Thank you, that was beautiful. For me as well, this was the first Kabbalat Shabbat service that I've been present at for well over a year. And so thank you for beautiful. I mean, sometimes it's the simple things that we just overlooked, just the ability to sit with people and to sing and to embrace and to hold one another. And God willing, as we hopefully return to some semblance of normalcy, we will not forget the pleasure of the simplicity, right? When you experience a Kabbalat Shabbat like that kind of grounds you, we're ready to enter the Mariv service. But before doing that, it feels always odd to me that we come in and we've been so distant from one another and we're trying to bring ourselves closer to God. So one way to bring ourselves closer to God is to bring ourselves closer to one another. So what I'd like to do, it's great to have the Gray family all here and the AAE regulars right over here. We're going to do a little mixing and matching, okay? So what I'd like you to do is very briefly, so we're not here until we have Shabbos dinner after, is just everyone please stand and walk over to someone that you've never met and just share your name and then a highlight from the past week. So intermingle with one another. This section come here, this section come here, and a highlight of the week. Exchange names and a highlight of the week. There you go. And for those of you who are on Facebook, Just send a greeting to someone. Send a greeting to someone.
And the bat mitzvah girl, Charlotte. That was yesterday.
Yes. She did a beautiful job. Yeah. It was great.
It was lovely. It was so
And
nice.
she did such a beautiful job. I was really
you.
proud of her.
Yeah.
All right.
I watched it over
Oh, you
again on
did?
your site.
Oh, good.
The whole thing.
Without pausing
Without
Without
or
pausing.
Because
fast forwarding.
Without fast
grandmas are allowed to do that.
They send it to a lot of people.
That's great. All right. We're going to encourage you to continue conversations after the service. What's that, Bennett? Oh. So it's nice to, whenever we go into a shul, let's not take that for granted, and let's always say hello to the people in our midst, okay? So, but, thank you. And so to the, we're going to invite Charlotte, we're going to invite you and your sister Sophie and mom and grandma. But you know what? We're going to define this more broadly. The whole mishpacha, right? Why don't you all come on up and help us light the Shabbat candles, okay? Yeah, we're going to ask everyone else to please rise. You're fine. You're great. You're good. So, are you going to help us? No? Oh, whoever you want, you can come too. Here, you come on up. Sure. Here, why don't we use the mic?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
We saw a Charlotte, for those of you out there, Charlotte had her bat mitzvah delayed almost a year to the day. And so I imagine that that was quite a process, right? When you have a moment, and I know how, Charlotte, that you really felt the presence of God in connection to Judaism, and you also felt really the connection of family. When you have that in Judaism, when you experience something that's a beautiful moment with the hope and prayer and expectation that you'll experience more moments like that, more special holy moments, there's a special bracha. It's called the Shehechianu. It's a time that we acknowledge that we are blessed with moments in our lives, and we look forward to the next one. So this is a Shehechianu moment. It was on ice for about 365 days, but who's counting? So we're going to invite you gentlemen to come join the ladies as the cantor leads us in the Shehechianu. Put your arms around each other. Put your arms around each other.
Lazman hazeh, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kimanu, v'higianu, Lazman hazeh. Amen.
as you stand here, embraced in love, embraced in sanctity, in the synagogue, in the presence of the Torah and the holy light of Shabbat, so may you as a family have many more opportunities to celebrate. May you be blessed, and thank you for being a blessing. Shabbat Shalom. You can come and hang out with me. Everyone else has got to go sit down, but you can hang out. Yeah, okay, here, I'll invite everyone to come to see. Mazel tov. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to the near and to the virtually close. Shabbat Shalom. Can I ask you a question? First of all, remind me of your name again. Asher. That's a beautiful name. Are you a happy person, Asher? Because that's what it really means. Asher means happy. You're Jewish? Guess what? I'm Jewish too. Are you Jewish?
Last time I checked.
Last time I checked.
I think that if you stay more like here,
then
then they can see you better. The more you get over here.
Then we're out of camera range.
I haven't really looked enough.
I'm sure the complaints are lining up in the page. We'll know.
We're trying to work with you.
We're doing great. Okay. Well, Asher is our Jewish friend. Asher, we're Jewish as well, okay? You're from Brooklyn. I'm Jewish, and I was born in Brooklyn too. I was born in Brooklyn, yeah. Oh, you were born in the United States of America, in the center of it all, Brooklyn, New York, right? And so, Asher, after I lived in Brooklyn, I moved to a different place. And when I moved to a different place, there was a show on TV that I loved. And we're not done. Go ahead, Asher. You got some more to say? You're turning 5 in 2 weeks. On the mountain. Okay, good. We'll talk more in a little bit, Asher. Because I got a feeling that you're going to take my job one day. That's okay. So anyway, when I was, Sophie, about your age, there was a great show on television. I had never been to LA before, but there was a great show on television called LA Law, right? Does everyone remember LA Law? And I loved LA Law. And that's something I'll tell a little bit more as I become more acquainted with the community. That was my favorite show on TV. I wasn't so much into the drama aspect. I think a lot of that actually flew over my head, all like the complicated relationships and all of that. But I loved watching the legal process. The legal process and how it unfolded in the narrative was really interesting to me. And I actually, for a long time, thought that I would do something with legislation in my life. That's what was sort of my aspiration. And I was thinking about that, I was reflecting about that because this week's Torah portion is one of the few places in the Torah where the Torah actually delves into legal process. Most of the time, the Torah makes legal declarations, but we don't get to see the legal process. In other words, the Torah sort of states, this is the law, or he knows that Moses goes up to the mountain and gets the law. But sort of the unfolding of the development of a law, we don't get a lot of that. There's sort of 3 places that I can think of where that occurs in the Torah, where we actually see. There's a blasphemer in the book of Leviticus, where he shouts the Shem Miyuchad in the midst of a conflict, in an interpersonal conflict, and Moses calls a timeout and goes and asks God, what's the law? Like, what do we do with this guy? It doesn't end well. We're not going to say it in front of Asher. The second time, another time that I can think of, you can come hang out with me. You want to say? Yeah? Okay. Another time that I can think of is Asher. What happens is people weren't ready for Passover. Can you imagine that, Asher? They weren't ready for Passover. And so what they did was they said, hey, wait a second, we're tameh, we're impure. That's the Well, a lot of people eat chicken on Passover, right? Some people eat turkey, but whatever. Okay, I eat tofu. Yeah, so anyway, so people who were tameh were not allowed to participate in the Paschal offering. And so they also, the first Passover, they said, wait a second, how can we not participate? So also Moses calls time out and asks God, what's the law? There's a third time. You don't have to eat chicken. You have to eat whatever your mom puts on your plate, buddy. Okay. Right, yeah, well. So the third place where the legislative process unfolds, and Charlotte, you spoke so beautifully of this story. Do you remember the story that you spoke about with the women? Do you want to say, what was that? Do you want to say something about it? The daughters of Tzlofchad, what happened with them?
They spoke out about getting like the inheritance to them and not just to the sons.
Exactly. And so when they spoke out, it was the first time, because people just assumed that there were no sons, and they wanted to inherit their deceased father's estate. But it had never been done before. So Moses calls a time out. But what's different here, and this is a legal process unfolding, is a new law is created. So because 5 women stood up and advocated for themselves, we had an innovation of a new law in the Torah. The legal process unfolded before our eyes. And I think it's such a beautiful idea that advocacy leads to innovation. And Charlotte, that's essentially what you spoke about in your speech. Advocacy, standing up for yourself, having your voice heard, leads to societal innovation. And I also think that that's the message of July 4th. That's the message of this great country. When you stand, when you advocate, a society may not be able to hear it at first, but eventually there can be societal innovation. And we all hope and pray that we can celebrate our past and we can improve our future. So happy July 4th, everybody. And Charlotte, thank you for a beautiful bat mitzvah. Mazel tov. Shabbat shalom. We're going to ask everyone, Asher, you're going to come sit with me. We're going to pray a little bit, okay? We're going to please ask everyone to please rise for the Baruch Hu, on page 39A.
Lai, 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 la, lai, 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 hi, lai, 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 la, lai, 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 la, lai, lai, I lai, 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 Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam, Leolam Va'ed. Lai, 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 I lai, 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 I lai, 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 I lai, 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bikram. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavtil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chaleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ari v'aravi. Mahavat olam bet Yisrael chahavta Torah.
Page 40.
V'avatcha tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch ata Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך
We continue for the second and third paragraphs of the Shema silently through the bottom of page 42.
Adonai Elohechem
Page 43. V'emunah kol zot v'kayam aleinu ki hu Adonai Eloheinu mitzvot. Page 44.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכהנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה. זה אלי אנו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי 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 יאי ני 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 היי לי לי ני 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 לי 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 יאי לי 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 ונאמר כי פדרנו את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. The Hashkivenu, or evening prayer for peace, page 45.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ubetzel knafecha Tastirenu Ki el shomreinu shomreinu Umatzilenu ata Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ushemor Tzeiteinu Uvoeinu Lechaim Uleshalom Me'ata v'ad olam Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha Baruch ata Adonai Haporei sukkot shalom aleinu V'al kol amo Yisrael Ve'yam Yerushalayim.
Please rise for Vishamru, page 46.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת שבס לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת שבס לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ביום השביעי ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. ישמי רבה מבורך, לעולם וליומי עולמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן ביעלמה, ואמרו amen.
The Amidah, which is our opportunity for silent prayer, reflection, and meditation. The traditional liturgy can be found beginning on page 47.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. Yamma-na-nai, nai, 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 ai, lai, 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 lai. Yana-nai, na-nai, nai, nai. Yana-nai, na-nai, nai, nai. Yamma-na-nai, nai, nai, nai. Ya-la-lai, lai, lai. Yana-lai, lai, 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 lai. Yana-nai, na-nai, nai, nai. Oseh shalom bimromav. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו amen.
Beautiful. Kadi Shalom, page 54.
יתגנב ויקרא שמי רבה בימה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חונה וימי וחי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ימרו אמן. יש מי רבה מבורך לעולם וליומי יומיה יתברך וישתבח ויפור ויתרומם וינשא ותדר ותעלה ותהלל שמנו קודשה בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בימה ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותינו ובאותנו לכל ישראל קודם אבוהני ושמיה ויאמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום בברומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו amen. Rabbi, if I could just say one thing. Sure. For those of you at home, and for those of you who have been joining us over the last year, and for those of you on Friday nights who have been asking Jack Saul to pass out the wine, and for those of you who have been looking at Facebook and seen Jack and Adam Spiegel very often posting little pictures, little icons, whatever you call them, of little wine cups every Friday night on Facebook. Keep that in mind. Some of you may still have to be doing that. But Jack is really passing out the wine. Yes. Thank you,
Great.
sir.
So welcome back, Jack. And as Jack, for the first time in a year and a half, serves as the Shabbat Kiddush schlepper, we're going to invite our bat mitzvah. Now, for those of you who are wondering, Charlotte Gray had the opportunity to be called to the Torah in celebration of her bat mitzvah this past Thursday. We read Torah on Mondays and Thursdays in anticipation of Shabbat, and led by Cantor Aronoff and Rabbi Yarkin and Charlotte. It was a beautiful morning service, and we were just so pleased to be there. And so marking that celebration, and for your first time as a full member of the Jewish community, it's my honor to call upon Charlotte Gray to lead us in the Kiddush. So I'll invite everyone to please rise and to take some of the Jack-approved wine and raise it high.
Will I say it?
Yeah, this is for me. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Baruch, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit kihuyon tehila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta keotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava v'ratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Have a sip.
L'chaim.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good job. You can take your paper.
Beautiful job, Charlotte. And Asher's bar mitzvah is in 8 years. So save the date. He'll be here. And we'll continue on page 56 with the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו, אפס הולדתו, הכתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום והשיבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. אוקיי, קבל לך תקנו למה מלכות שלהם בכל בני מספרים. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
In love, we recall those who no longer walk this earth, and we are grateful to God for the gift of their lives and for the cherished memories that never fade. For those of you who are at home, who are either in mourning or observing a yahrzeit, we invite you in the chat to list the name of the person that you'll be thinking of as you're reciting Kaddish, and maybe even a sentence about who they were and their place in your life. And then we invite those of you here to share the name. If anyone who's in mourning, we invite you to share the name of the person for whom you're saying Kaddish this evening. So we'd like to ask those of you who are in mourning or observing yahrzeit to join me as we sanctify God's name with the words of Mourner's Kaddish on page 58. Page 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bialma divra kirute v'yamlich machute. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiram v'yalma v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imro mav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. And may the memories of our loved ones be a continuing source of comfort and blessing. And let us all say to that.
Say if you have anything to say, announcements.
Okay, very good. So we want to again wish the Gray family a Mazal Tov on Charlotte's bat mitzvah and Charlotte. As we said, we are first day buddies, right? My very first day of work here at Adat Ariel as the senior rabbi was it your first day of work as a full participant in the Jewish community. And I hope, my blessing again, as I said on Thursday, is that both of our careers, right, full-time working people, you in the Jewish community, me at Adat Ariel, can be long ones, right? That we can always cherish our place here in this sanctuary and in the Jewish community. And it was such a pleasure to always remember that morning in the celebration with you and your family. So thank you for that opportunity. We'll see everyone tomorrow morning at Shabbat services. We have a whole list and litany of wonderful activities in person. The women of Adat are hosting a coffee. The men of Adat are hosting a barbecue. Not like that we're trying to jar any gendered stereotypes or anything like that, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And next Shabbat, next Shabbat morning, the board is hosting a beautiful Kiddush luncheon. So there's lots of opportunities to come back to Adat Ariel, follow our COVID protocols, but we're trying to open up and enjoy one another together. So I think we all owe David Kamener a big Yesher Koach and a Toda Rabbah and a beautiful accompaniment with Cantor Aronoff. And to Cantor Aronoff, what a beautiful way to come back into a shul on Erev Shabbat with just a lovely and thoughtful selection of different tunes and spiritual connections. So thank you so much for that. And how are we going to close tonight?
First, I'm going to say something.
Okay.
I have one announcement, and that is our daily minyan is meeting in person in here, all our usual times, which means that, Sunday morning we always meet at 9, but July 5th, as a legal holiday, we're meeting in the morning at 9 o'clock also. The one time we are not going to be meeting in person is July 4th night. So the fireworks have scared us away from being here in person on the 4th of July at night, but we are having virtual minyan. So just as in throughout this entire past period, you can find us still on Facebook on Sunday evening, July 4th. That one night is not in person. Everything else, we are here.
In person, live. And the 5th is at 9 o'clock.
And the 5th is in the morning at 9, and at night the usual 7 o'clock.
That's great. Okay.
Okie doke. That's it. Yigdal. We're going to end with Yigdal on page 62, and I want to use the same tune that I used to open the service with this Yedid Nefesh. I've done this before for Yigdal. It's really, I find this just a very, very beautiful and moving tune. So again, to remind you, well, I'm not going to remind you. You can pick up the tune with the words. And please, if you don't know the words and you don't feel like looking at the transliteration or whatever it is, just sing La La La. It's a beautiful, beautiful tune. Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yishtabach nimtza v'yenet el metziuto echad v'yen yachid keyichudo ne'lam v'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut haguf v'eino guf lo naroch elav kedushato lai lai la lai 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 la lai 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 kadmon lechol davar asher nivra rishon v'en reshit lereshito hino adon olam v'chol notzar yoreh gedulato umalchuto shefa nevuato netano el anshe skulato v'tifato lai lai la lai 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 la lai 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 lo kam b'Yisrael כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את תמונתו תורת אמנתן לים אוהל על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו לא יחליף אוהב ולא ימיר דתו יביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו, גומל לאיש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע רע כרישתו, ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו, לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו,